I know what you're thinking. Another breakup story. But trust me, this one's different. It's a labyrinth of secrets, vulnerability, and consequences that left me shattered, and ultimately empowered. When I first fell for him, I thought I'd found my person. He was confident, thoughtful, stunningly handsome, and for once, I believed in forever. But behind his smile were shadows I couldn't see, until I bared mine, and everything unraveled. I met him on an ordinary spring afternoon. The sun filtered gently through the café's windows when I saw him, the way he laughed at his friends, the way the light caught his hair. Without thinking, I sat down next to him, introduced myself. And to my surprise, he smiled back and welcomed me in. We struck up a conversation that felt like meeting an old friend. He talked about his job, his childhood in the Midwest, his dreams of traveling the world. I shared mine too, my love for writing, for discovering stories. It was effortless, natural, magical. That night, I went home and couldn't stop smiling. Suddenly, we were inseparable. We spent our weekends exploring flea markets and hiking trails. We cooked pasta together, danced in the kitchen, watched old movies curled on the couch. He told me his mother's recipe for tiramisu. I told him about the first poem I ever wrote at 13. It felt like we were building something real. As the weeks passed, I noticed the first cracks. It was subtle. When he spoke about his family, his voice softened, eyes clouded with distance. He told me little, just that they were complicated, that he'd had to figure things out on his own early in life. I asked questions, but he said he'd tell me when he was ready. I respected that. I thought I was being patient, giving him space. But inside, I wondered if his silence meant he didn't trust me. Then came the night I got that text. "We need to talk," is never a good sign. I rushed over, heart pounding, expecting something dramatic. Instead, he looked away, played with his phone. He said he was stressed about a decision at work, uncertain about the future. That he needed time to focus. But when I tried to comfort him, he launched into a rant about his last relationship, how he got burned, how he couldn't open up again. I tried to reassure him. I said I wasn't like her, I cared about him. But it felt like a wall was there, thick, unmoving. I squeezed his hand and said we'd face it together. He nodded, but I saw his heart pull away. Over the coming weeks, he drifted. Dates got canceled, messages went unanswered. When we did talk, it was cordial, distant. Still, I believed in us. I believed he was fighting something inside and would come back when he was ready. And the truth was brewing inside me too. Something I'd been running from for years, something I'd buried and kept secret. I'd reached a breaking point where I couldn't carry it alone any longer. I had to tell him, even if it changed everything. It was a Sunday morning. Light poured in. I made coffee. He sat across from me, eyes tired. My heart hammered. I said, "I have something to tell you." He nodded, silent. I took a breath. I was in an accident when I was 16. It changed everything. I had a traumatic brain injury. I don't usually talk about it. I'm different in ways I can't always explain. It sounded softer than I felt, but the weight of it lifted when I spoke. He blinked. "You never said." His voice was gentle. I said I'd been embarrassed, afraid he'd see me differently. That I sometimes had memory gaps, trouble with deep focus, or depression. I needed you to know who I really am. For a moment, silence. Then he reached out, touched my hand. "Thank you for trusting me," he said. I thought that was it. I thought our bond was real enough to survive this kind of truth. But the next day, he pulled away more. He avoided texts. He said he needed space. Over the next week, he became cold. He canceled plans. He stopped sleeping over. When I asked what was wrong with us, he said, "I don't know," his voice hollow. When I pressed, he said, "This is a lot for me." Hearing that broke me. Somehow, sharing my truth had broken him. I spent that week in a fog. I doubted myself. I screamed at the moon, begged the universe to explain. How could honesty, something so sacred, have torn us apart? I'd believed myself strong enough. I'd told myself love would make it okay. Instead, I was left in heartbreak. Then I got the call. It was his voice. "I need to return your things," he said. I listened as he listed coffee mugs, my favorite sweater. I realized it wasn't real. That our story, our weekend laughter, our soft kisses, could just vanish. He asked if we could meet one last time. I said yes. At our final meeting, he looked anxious. We sat in my car, where we'd shared so much. I handed him the mugs. He looked away. You hurt me, he said suddenly. It's not your fault, I whispered. He said he felt he'd been lied to, even though I hadn't lied, I'd just held back. He thought he didn't know me. And that scared him. He said he couldn't move forward if he was afraid what else I was hiding. I wanted to scream. I wanted to plead. But I didn't. I let him finish, his words soft and sorrowful. I nodded. He gave me a hug. We said goodbye. He drove away. I sobbed. In the silence afterward I felt emptiness, but also clarity. I realized I'd been more myself in those moments than I'd ever been with anyone. I'd been brave, and yes, vulnerable. He couldn't stay, but I hadn't lost. I'd found my truth. I told friends what had happened. Many called him hurtful, criticized his inability to handle realness. Others said maybe he wasn't ready. Some said I dodged a bullet. I listened, and I decided not to hate him. But I also decided not to hide ever again. I went back to writing. I wrote about that accident, wrote about the silence of his departure. I published it. It resonated. So many reached out, saying, "Thank you for telling your truth." Strangers hugged me at coffee shops. I interviewed on podcasts. I gave talks about vulnerability and healing. Suddenly, my story was bigger than a failed relationship. It was a spark for others to share their own truths. 6 months later, I still think of him sometimes. I remember his laugh, the way he played with his phone as he tried to talk about his feelings. I sometimes wonder if he'd be different now. But mostly I think of how much stronger I am. I'm still me, a woman who faced her wounds and refused to bury them again. A woman who now speaks loudly, who doesn't whisper in half-truths. I know better love will come. Someone who will embrace every piece of me, scarred or not. If there's a moral here, if there's anything to hold on to, it's this: telling your truth is never weakness. It's a declaration. It's an act of freedom. It may shift the world around you. It may cost you. But staying silent costs more. Staying hidden dims your light. And people who can't see that light, they deserve to walk away. So if you're listening and your truth is trembling inside your chest, scarred, shameful, messy, take it out. Speak it, write it, sing it, and know this: you are more than your story. But sharing it makes your soul bigger. And if anyone leaves, let them. Because they weren't ready for all of you. And someone who is will find their way. Thank you for sitting with me through this. Thank you for being brave enough to listen. Sometimes healing begins when our voices break the silence. You're not alone. Your truth is your light, and the right people will see it.